Hello, my name is Xstylo, and I'm gonna teach you how to play an Unholy Death Knight. In this guide, we're gonna talk about the talent system, the glyphs, the rotation, the stat priorities, the enchants, the gems, and all of that good stuff. So, here we go. Let's talk about the talent system. Okay, let's get to the talents. First of all, in the first tier, which you get at level 56, is Unholy Blight. Why would you take Unholy Blight over Plague Leech and Roiling Blood? Dots. Dots are the most important thing for you to have up as an Unholy Death Knight. Probably as any other Death Knight as well, but especially as Unholy, because a lot of your DPS comes from your dots. Unholy Blight can be cast a few seconds before the fight and has a 10 seconds duration, so you could actually get your runes to be regenerated fully and still be able to get your dots on without wasting any runes in the start of a fight. After you have Unholy Blight selected, you're gonna go for Anti-Magic Zone. This is my personal choice because Lichborn and Purgatory are more PvP, and an Anti-Magic Zone can be used in PvE, raid situations, and many other things, so definitely Anti-Magic Zone, definitely. That's Advance is the third tier talent you want to take. The reason that you should take that's Advance over the other two, Chillblains and Asphyxiate, is because you move 10% faster passively, so that's always, and movement impairing effects cannot reduce you below 70% of normal movement speed. So as a melee, it's very important to be at your targets fast, otherwise you lose out on a lot of DPS. So this is definitely a must. Take that Advance. The level 60 tier is kind of difficult. One thing's for sure, you definitely not want to take Conversion. Why do you not want to take Conversion? Well, it's restoring 3% of your maximum health every 1 second. But it converts it from runic power, which you kind of need to get your Uberghoul. So yeah, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. But Dad's Pact is really good. It heals you up when you need it, and it doesn't kill your ghoul anymore. So that's good. But Death 7, you can use that a lot more often, and if you really need the heals. I've been using this for questing, but you might be better off with Death Pact. The next one is also a tricky one. It's the Blood Tap you want to take out of these three. You might not be agreeing with me, but let me show you why. Okay, so with Runic Corruption, you have a 45% chance to activate Runic Corruption, increasing your rune generation rate by 100% for 2.43 seconds. Okay? That still doesn't mean you get your runes back completely. It doesn't. Epic Beard Scratch. Runic Empowerment. When you land a damaging Death Coil, Frost Strike, or Rune Strike, you have a 45% chance to activate a random fully depleted rune. It's not bad. It is definitely not bad. But your Blood Tap, you can use this to get your Soul Reaper off cooldown when it's needed to. Why? You can macro your Blood Tap to your Death Coil because it doesn't share a global cooldown. So basically you can get the maximum out of Blood Tap. Each time you damage with Death Coil, you get 2 blood charges up to a maximum of 12. Blood Tap consumes only 5, so if you get 2, then every third Death Coil, which happens quite often, you will also activate your Blood Tap, which gives you a new rune. That's insane. That's completely insane. The last tier you want to take? The last tier you want to take is probably Glyphs Grasp. Why is that? Well, Desecrated Ground corrupts the ground in an 8-yard radius beneath the Death Knight for 10 seconds. While standing in this corruption, the Death Knight is immune to effects that cause loss of control. That is good for PvP. So is everything really, but Remorseless Winter surrounds the Death Knight with a swirling tempest of frigid air for 8 seconds, chilling enemies within 8 yards every 1 second. But that has to stack up 5 times, so in 5 seconds you get a soft stun, like it's gonna be an ice cube, and that takes 6 seconds. So it's good for situations where you have to save your raid or dungeon group, but it's not gonna increase or do anything good for you. Which then we get to Glyphs Grasp. Shadowy tendrils coil around all enemies within 20 yards of a target, hostile or friendly, pulling them to the target's location. Basically, you can stick this on the tank or on yourself, and as a melee you want to avoid walking too much, so it will grab the enemies to him. You see what I mean? Every target gets to him. Then you can use your Unholy Blight, and you'll be a happy panda. So this is what I choose, and I suggest you do the same. Next up, the first thing you want to pick for the glyphs is Pestilence. Pestilence increases the radius of your Pestilence effect by 5 yards. It speaks for itself. You get more targets to be affected by your diseases. Next up, I want to now take 4 glyphs, major glyphs you can use, but it's not recommended. It's your personal preference. So the first thing you want to take probably is Anti-Magic Shell. It's optional, but it's useful for absorbing larger and smaller magic attacks. Glyph of Death Coil. Good for mitigating the damage your group takes. You can help heal a bit. Shifting Presences. This might be useful if you are the DPS off tank. We have had such situation on Chimerian Heroic back in 4.0. Yeah, it's really something to consider. And the last major glyph you want to consider out of the 2 you can choose is Glyph of Unholy Frenzy. Glyph of Unholy Frenzy will help out your healer, because every time you use Glyph of Unholy Frenzy, you will not take damage of your Unholy Frenzy, as we do, because 6k ticks is quite something. It's something to consider. Those are the major glyphs. Let's go to the minors. The minor glyphs have only one glyph you really want to take. This glyph is called Glyph of Path of Frost. Basically what this glyph will do is reduce a lot of falling damage when you use it. This is much like the kitty form of a druid. Another glyph I'm a big fan of is the Glyph of Tranquil Grip. This makes your death grip no longer taunt and makes it useful for mobility situations where you either have to walk a far distance or grab the target to you. Another optional glyph, like the Tranquil Grip, is the Army of Dead. Glyph of the Army of Dead. I'm sorry. The ghouls summoned by your Army of Dead will no longer taunt their target. Speaks for itself, right? The third and last minor glyph to consider is the Glyph of Death's Embrace. This makes your Death Coil refund 20 runic power when it's used to heal an allied minion. These are the glyphs you want to take. Some of them are optional. The ones you really want to take are these 2, the Pestilence and the Path of Frost. The other ones are really something you like to use most. That's really all there is to it. So what I'm gonna take for the miners is these. But then again, it's up to you. Let's head over to stat priorities. Alright. Okay, let's get to the stat priorities then. First, you want to of course take as much strength as possible. Then, you want to go for at least 7.5% expertise and hit. This is, I think it was 2,550 rating, if I'm not mistaken. After that, you want to take Haste. A lot of it. You want to have Haste as Unholy. I think as two-hand Frost and dual-wielding Frost. You want to have Haste as well. Why is that? Because your rune regeneration, the runes you use, let me show you. When you cast a spell, you use a rune, yeah? That goes faster the more haste you have to regenerate it. That's great. You want to have that, believe me. Then, after you get as much haste as possible, you're gonna take crit. Okay? You're gonna take crit. Why do you want to take crit? Well, you basically do double damage attacks if you crit. So, there's nothing bad about it. Especially not with your Soul Reaper. Because if that crits as an Unholy, you're gonna hit like 250k. That's crazy. So, crit is your second priority. And as last priority, you want to take Mastery. Mastery was really good if you had a Gurthalok back in Endgame Cataclysm, but now that Gurthalok is no more, you want to have a Mastery last. Like, it increases your shadow damage, so it's not bad. Every stat has its benefits for you, but Mastery would have the least benefit for you. So, Mastery last, okay? So last I want to talk about the rotation you're gonna follow. So see you in the next clip. Okay, let's talk about your rotation and your cooldowns. So first of all, always have your diseases on. Your Plague Strike and your Icy Touch will apply Frost Fever and Blood Plague. You can also use, for example, Unholy Blight or Outbreak, because your diseases do a lot of damage. Second of all, your new priority, when the target hits under 35% health, you have to cast your Soul Reaper, because it applies the dot, which I missed because I'm totally noob, I think. That dot you apply, and when it takes off, it's gonna give you a huge amount of damage. Well, the target, not you. And yeah, you really need that. Your third priority, and this is one of the highest priorities, actually your second priority if the target is above 35%, but if it gets under, it's your third, is getting your Dark Transformation out. So basically what you have to do is start hitting some spells and cast 5 Death Coils, so it will stack onto your Ghoul, which I have not out at the moment. And this will basically give you the chance to cast your Dark Transformation, which makes your Ghoul into a big Ghoul, which does a lot of damage, hell of a lot of damage, so definitely want to have that. After you have got your Ghoul up, your Uber Ghoul, you want to make sure to check out on your dots again. So basically how to extend your dots is to use your Festering Strike. Festering Strike is this spell, and you want to use it to extend your dots. As you can see, every time I hit it, your dots go up by a few seconds. That's what you want to do. You want to always have your dots up. But if it's not needed and you just want to dump runes, go for your Scorch Strike. Scorch Strike is a very important spell. Even though it doesn't do a lot of damage, you can cast a lot of them. You can basically spam them. So that's definitely what you want to do. And if you get into it, you it all goes automatically then. So Scorch Strike over Festering Strike, unless you want to extend your dots. Okay, your 7th spell is gonna be your Death and Decay on single target. Your Death and Decay is of course an AOE attack, but it's actually really good for single target too. I mean, look at the ticks, 2k, 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 2k. It's really good. So definitely try to cast your Death and Decay single target as well. Best thing to do is off cooldown even, unless you want to use your Soul Reaper, because that's of course much more important. So yeah. And then you have your last spell. Your last spell is your Death Coil. But, of course, after you casted your Dark Transformation. So when you have your big ghoul up, your big guy, you don't want to cast too many Death Coils anymore. Yeah, maybe if everything is on cooldown and you have to dump some runic power. But otherwise you better stop doing that, because it's just not worth it. Okay? Good. Let's talk about your AOE rotation then. Alright, your AOE rotation is fairly simple. What I like to do though is I don't really go AOE, I just spread dots, dump Death and Decay, go single target, because my rotation of single target, I've got everything here up in my head, so I don't even have to think about it and just do it, you know? But what I rather see you doing, if you are kind of a starter, what you want to do is go to your spell book and get Blood Boil, yeah? And get Blood Boil. And if you run in and you have Unholy Blight, use your Unholy Blight, definitely. Dump your Death and Decay and start Blood Boiling. That's the best thing you can do as a starter Death Knight. It's definitely not bad, you do decent DPS, although I rather do my single target rotation over my Blood Boil AOE rotation. Why is that? When you have your ghoul, your big guy up, he starts doing AOE as well, and that is quite some damage, so it's up to you actually. But yeah, these are the tips I can give you for AOE. Going over to your cooldowns. Alright, let's talk about your cooldowns. First of all, you have survivability cooldowns and you have DPS cooldowns. Of course, your DPS cooldowns are a lot more important because you want to do a lot of DPS and you are supposed to have a healer to heal you. But if you want to mitigate some damage for your healer so that he doesn't have to heal his balls off, look at these survival cooldowns. So first of all, you have Death Pact. This is a talent you're supposed to take. You can also take Death Siven, I think it was, or Dark Siven, one of the two. But never take Conversion, okay? This heals you for 50% and takes 50% of your ghoul's damage. So, not bad. Anti-Magic Shell. Absorbs a good amount of magic damage, 100% to be exact, of a maximum of 50% of your health. So it could basically like absorb 153.25k. That's crazy. That's good. Next to that, I have the Anti-Magic Zone, which I also took out of the talents. But yeah, you've already heard about this stuff, and it absorbs 171k. So if you get one big blow, like say Nefarian, Deathwing, definitely what's the guy called on the ship of Dragon Soul? That guy. And when the big swirly thing on the ground comes, you know. Next to that, you have Icebound Fortitude. Icebound Fortitude freezes your blood and you become immune to stun effects. I thought there was more, sorry. And reduce all the damage taken by 20% for 12 seconds. That's good. That's good. Okay, then we go over to your Bed to Rest. This is of course quite important. 10 minutes cooldown. Makes you able to resurrect a person with 60% of his health and 20% of his mana. So that's good. During a battle, of course. Now go to your DPS cooldowns. Unholy Frenzy. This is really good, but you should always pop this one with your Gargoyle. They don't share global cooldown. You can pop them at the same button. One button push and you pop them. And yeah, it does really... Your Gargoyle benefits of this 20% haste. So, yeah, go for it. It's good. Army of Dead. This one, you want to start off as a fight starter. Like, before the tank pulls, you're gonna pop your Army of Dead. He starts pulling, your army jumps in. Make sure it doesn't taunt, because that would be a bit stupid. Things like Unholy Blight and Outbreak save you a rune. 2, to be exact, for applying your dots. So these are definitely useful cooldowns, because your dots are taking up 2 runes. And if you pop these pre-fight, it's not gonna take up a rune. Definitely pick this over these, because when you use Outbreak, you have to use Pestilence as well. Okay? Then you have your Horn of Winter. Always have this one active, and even use it if you haven't got anything else to pop, because it gives you 10 runic power too, and you may be able to push out that death coil you couldn't before. So definitely a useful thing, and it increases your attack power by 10%, so use it! Last but definitely not least, we have Empower Rune Weapon. So this is great. I tend to use this a lot when either I am bursting into the fight, so that you can start off with a good amount of DPS, or at the last second when the Bloodlust pops, or the Time Warp, or whatever you want to call it, Heroism, so that you can pop your Golem Blood Potion, which now of course has a much better equivalent to it, but that doesn't matter right now. So Empower Rune Weapon, definitely use this. It not only gives you 25 runic power, but it activates all of your runes. Useful! Last but definitely not least again, your Rune Forge. I haven't got any on my weapon yet, because I just got this one. But what you want to take is Rune of the Fallen Crusader. I'll show it to you. I'll show it. Rune of the Fallen Crusader. Affixes your rune weapon with a rune that has a chance to heal you for 3% and increases your total strength by 15% for 15 seconds. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, that's it. And if you need to know more, if you want to know what kind of gems you want to use, what kind of enchants you want to have on your gear, and definitely want to recheck on the stat priorities and all the things I just said, it's gonna be below here in the description. So check that out if you need to know everything, but you don't want to watch the whole video again or have to switch through parts of the video. It's all in the description. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if this was useful, like, favorite, subscribe, share to your friends to tell them about how the Death Knight actually works. And especially, thank you. Thank you for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed. I'm glad to help. If you want another tutorial, it's gonna be Frost Death Knight, Blood Death Knight, and maybe a lot of other classes, because I've got everything. So, thanks for watching. Goodbye.